So, big Friday for Pierre Péladeau.
What a great idea. I'm so happy that the team has, got local ownership. Péladeau understands things in the business world, just as Calvillo was saying in the newscast we both listened to. And I'm really happy. Now, I always take the trouble to say it's not because I do a lot of work for Quebecor that he owns, but simply because he understands, he's buying it as an individual, but he also understands that it involves a lot of costs. In the United States, you buy a team and all of a sudden you'll see the value go up and up and up. In Canada, you buy a team and you're basically doing it as a community service because a lot of money is going to come out of your pocket. So good on Pierre-Karl Péladeau. I think it's just wonderful news for Als fans, and we're going to be able to hold on to our team for many years to come.
I have to agree with you. I think it's a great example. Finally, a Montrealer, a Quebecois stepping up and putting his money where his mouth is, and
Here,
contributing. No, really, no. This is a super move. Moving on to something that's been one of the big stories of the week, and it doesn't seem that it'll be washed away, as politicians always hope that the weekend will wash away bad news stories. The SAAQ. So Geneviève Guilbeault, the transport minister, admits planning and communication errors.
Well, good for her, too, because this shows all the class of Geneviève Guilbeault, because she's taking her part of the blame, the exact opposite of Minister Kerr, who really, I don't think he's going to hold on to his job for very long.
Really?
To be honest with you. I don't. I can't see how François Legault is going to hold on to Éric Kerr, who clearly doesn't have any expertise or training or experience to be in charge of all things digital for the government of Quebec. They're going to have to put in somebody who has some clue what he's doing. But Guilbeault is accepting the blame, saying, look, I'm the transport minister. This sack is under my wing. But in the newscast, again, that we just listened to, there was an interesting clip from her. She said, we'll find out who should have done what once this crisis is over. So if I were in the senior leadership of the SAAQ, I would be brushing up my CV right now and looking for another place to land, because there has been so much incompetence and there's just so much blame to go around. It's uncharacteristic, by the way, of Legault, who's been in government for so long. He was a very senior minister, in a previous life with the PQ. He had the health department, one of the biggest and most complicated. Yeah. He had the education department, one of the biggest and most complicated. That's like 80% of the provincial budget, just those two right there. So for this guy, he hates having egg on his face. And Éric Kerr also did himself a disservice, because the one thing that Legault said as he was swearing in his ministers and everybody else, he said, look, we're going to have differences, but he says they're going to take place behind closed doors. We're not going to go after each other in public. Obviously, Éric Kerr broke that rule when he went after Guilbeault and her responsibility, saying that it had nothing to do with him, whereas it's been very clearly proven that it had everything to do with him and what he's supposedly in charge of, but is clearly not in charge of.
All right, moving on to another soap opera that's going on and on, China. So
the other soap opera. It wouldn't be fair to have a soap opera in Quebec and not to have one in Ottawa.
That's right. That's right. Everybody needs their soap opera. So the one in Ottawa, now China responds.
Yes. And if you know a little bit about the culture and the traditions and the attitude, that's probably why she and the people around him were so furious with Trudeau after the scolding that Trudeau boasted of having given him. It's a question. It's called saving face. You can deal with big, serious stuff, but don't make me lose face. So the Chinese government is furious at the way they feel they're being handled right now. The blaring headlines about, and I'm putting this in air quotes, because of course they're obviously not police stations. No. But everybody's using the word police station to describe these outfits that are being used to control and influence and intimidate the diaspora Chinese community here in Canada. And I think that it's incumbent on people like you and me who comment on this stuff to always remind people this has nothing to do with your Chinese neighbor, because your Chinese neighbor might actually be a victim of some of this intimidation. So just to show a lot of sympathy, openness, and understanding, because this has everything to do with the Chinese Communist Party's regime in China, has everything to do with people in that regime who don't respect human rights, and anywhere, including here. And so this is the real subject. It has nothing to do with individual people here in Canada of Chinese origin.
You're so right, Tom, and I'll emphasize what you just said, because remember during the pandemic we had these horrible incidents here in Chinatown and against Asian Canadians, and this could spiral out of control. And again, we could see violence and hate directed at our fellow Canadians.
Exactly. And it's as if we learned nothing from history, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what the Japanese population, to use that example, went through during the Second World War. I mean, we've apologized, but we don't seem to always learn the lesson. So I think that it really is our obligation to make sure we insist on the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I talk to you a bit about Monday's by-election in Saint-Henri-Saint-Anne?
Yeah, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, because I asked our CTV Weather Center to keep an eye on the weather Monday, and we're talking about snow and rain.
Yeah, not good for Liberal voters.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember the 1998 election. It was a fall election, typical fall weather. The day started nice and sunny, and we were able to really get our transport teams together because my riding of Chomedy had the highest number of seniors residents of any riding in Quebec. So we really counted on getting their vote out because they voted heavily Liberal. And up until about noon, 1 o'clock, we were able to get them out in droves. But the weather closed in. It really got cold. It started to rain. And in the afternoon, even if we would have offered to drive them, said, no, it's okay. I'm not going to bother. I'm not going out. The weather's lousy. So for the Liberals, bad weather is really not good. You know, the voters for Quebec Solidaire, is going to be their principal opponent, they tend to be younger voters, right? But the real question is, and this is the number one question, who's good at getting out the vote? And I saw that there was a pretty high participation for a by-election, a very high participation in the advanced poll. Yeah. That's usually a sign that the Liberals have been doing their job, because the Liberals are very good at filling the ballot box before Election Day. Very legally, because they fill it up with people who have gone to the advanced polls. They've driven them out. They've gotten their votes in, and they've worked hard banging on doors, giving people phone calls, and making sure they went out to vote. So I would say that's a positive sign for the Liberals. I think that Quebec Solidaire, though, might be able to elbow their way in. I mean, this is the type of riding that they want to take. It's been a Liberal riding for a long, long time, and it's of effort to overturn that. But if their voters are indeed motivated, they could pull it off. But as things stand right now, I think that it'll be Liberal by a whisker, probably right at the finish line. So,
since it's my last few minutes with you, and then of course Aaron and Tasha will be back on Monday with you to speculate even more. But I'm tempted to ask you, if the Liberals win, it's going to be okay. The Liberals have won, but there's still, they still have to rebuild. But I get the sense that for Quebec Solidaire, not winning this could actually start maybe hurting Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois and his leadership of the party. Am I exaggerating there?
No, you're not, because Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois actually got fewer votes than did Manon Massé when she was the leader back in the 2018 campaign. And he struts his stuff, and I would use the word bringing him down a peg. Maybe putting like a quarter gram of modesty into him, because he's very cocksure. He's always out there. He's a smart young guy, but he hasn't done a lot, except go from student protester to politician. And so he's got to have a bit more modesty. We saw that, during the campaign. I talked personally with people who had offered to show them why their proposal for what became known as the orange tax on cars was going to be a flop. And they just wouldn't listen to anybody. They had decided that this was a winner, but when people found out that a Toyota Corolla was going to have $7,000 added to it, it was, okay, goodbye. And François Legault just rode that one all the way to the election, and that's why they dropped in the polls. So he's got to learn how to be more modest, but this is the type of riding that if they pick it up, this is a golden win for them, because all of a sudden they go from 11 to 12 seats. And why is that important? Well, at 12 seats, you're considered a full-fledged party in the National Assembly. You don't have to beg, borrow, and steal for time. Everything comes to you. You get much bigger budgets, much better recognition. So they're going to be pulling out all this stuff. So they're going to be working like crazy this weekend to try to get everybody primed for that vote on Monday.